It sucks to be a white American. Now hold on, give me a chance, let me explain. I want you to think of the kind of person who would put on a White Lives Matter sticker on the back of their Ford pickup. Why do they do that? Is it all racism? Well, yeah. But I think it goes a lot deeper than that. White Americans basically have no culture. Not in the same way we see other people. And we white people, we know this inherently, and it scares us. We know we have our regional cultures. Our cities, our sports teams, and families all give us our regional culture, but being white basically means nothing. Or generally, at least nothing positive. White people throughout American history are almost always seen on the side of the oppressors. Not all white people, but most of us. And this sucks to learn. It's even harder to internalize. And it's why white people usually don't accept this, because it makes us feel a deep sense of guilt. I think it's why white people say nonsense like, I can't be racist, I have black friends. Sure, you probably don't see black people as objects, but you're refusing to accept the role our people have had in their oppression. That guilt we feel is our responsibility for the actions of our ancestors. It's why white people refuse to say that black people deserve reparation, because it admits our guilt. But black people deserve reparations. It just makes sense logically. You can sue someone for scratching your car, but black people can't sue the American government for the enslavement of their people. My people are arresting and deporting Mexican families from this country. Think about that. We are telling people that they are not allowed on the land we stole. Let's go a step further. White people stole a sacred land site from the people indigenous to this land and then carved 4 white people's faces on it, most of which were slave owners. I mean, Mount Rushmore is a place that we look at and we're like, oh, cool, giant faces. But to other people, it's a giant form of oppression, and admitting that and coming to terms with that sucks. We suck, dude. My people really and truly suck. Not all of us contributed to this oppression, but we are all a part of it. And this will mostly sound like virtue signaling. It will mostly sound like, look at how rough we are. But there is a reality to admitting this guilt and being honest with it. Because white people are afraid to do this. And we're afraid to admit it because my people are weak. White people are weak. We have power we have given ourselves and put down the cultures that are stronger than us because we know that we're weak. If white Americans were oppressed the same way black, native, or Mexican American people are, we would crack like glass. Our culture and identity as white people is so meaningless that we do everything in our power to keep other people down so that we don't break from having someone else on top. I think that's why you see white Americans championing white pride, not just out of ignorance or racism, but it's because they are scared. They're scared to come to terms with their guilt, scared to admit they're wrong, and terrified to acknowledge that we may have all the societal, economic, and political power, but as a people we are weak. But this isn't the way it has to be forever. I have hope that one day my people will finally take responsibility for what we have done. I hope that we'll collectively accept our role in the oppression of our non-white brothers and sisters and finally take action. And it will take the action of us white folks. It's not just non-white people that have to fight for their rights. It's us too fighting for them because our cross to bear is being born white. Being born with the skin color of the oppressors means that we have to fight to be nothing like them. We're not near that right now. America is in a tumultuous stage where it very much does not feel like white people are acknowledging where they went wrong. But I want to have hope, and I refuse to accept that one day justice won't prevail. Collectively, we can all shed the shadow of oppression and share this place together. And that's the message I want to end with. I want to be hopeful that one day oppression will be something taught in history class, something that we don't have to see ourselves in. That's what I hope. Anyway, I want to be optimistic in the end. Anyway, that's it. Thanks.
There is a reckoning.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel once again. Thank you so much for always coming back and tuning in. So guys, I want you guys to just continue watching this video whereby really white folks finally admit that black American were right. So because black American, they have been complaining about the segregation. They really went through about being segregated, about the racial discrimination, about the damages that they really faced during the build of this system. But this system, it has really turned against them. So I want you guys to just watch these videos, and in the end, then I come back with more comment. I'm your host, Leslie J.
I'm gonna be straight up. I'm officially ashamed to even be considered a white American. And it doesn't help that I'm fluorescent as fuck, as if Dracula had a love child with Casper the Ghost. You know, it's 2023, so if we can no longer identify with our biological gender, then I'm officially no longer identifying with my biological ethnicity. Because I just found out the most messed up thing. And I strongly encourage you to do your own research into this and find out your own information. That way, like, you find it out for yourself. But this is what I just learned. George Washington, right? Did you know that there were indigenous black people in the Americas, and they were Moorish black people, and that the chopping of the cherry tree of George Washington was him officially cutting off their inheritance and their history from ever being remembered, and that he had written and said that in 200 years, if we remove the turbans from their heads, the sandals from their feet, and we make them think that they are just like any other black people, that they will forget their entire history and their inheritance and the fact that they are indigenous to the Americas. And did you know that our first peace treaty ever signed was with Morocco? And that if they had wanted their freedom, they could have had it, but they were never told about it, and so they were enslaved instead. Why can't we ever... Why can't... We're the worst. Like, we're the worst. Our history is a total lie.
This country was not built on freedom. It was built on theft, genocide, slavery, and silence. The land we live on was stolen, ripped away from Native people through war, betrayal, and the violent erasure of entire cultures. Homes burned, families torn apart, and languages were forbidden, and children were buried. This land wasn't discovered, it was taken. Then this country marched south and stole half of Mexico, Texas, California, Arizona, and New Mexico. That land wasn't empty. It was alive with history, with people, with deep indigenous roots. Mexicans and Native Americans share that blood. And now this country dares to call their descendants illegal on the land that was theirs first. And while land was being stolen, millions of black people were stolen too. Enslaved, brutalized, forced to build a country that never intended to see them as human. The wealth of this nation, its railroads, its cotton, banks, White House, was soaked in the black blood and sweat. And still the system works to keep them down, to silence, to punish, to erase. And today, this country is still being built on the backs of the brown, the poor, the undocumented, farm workers who can't afford the food that they harvest, mothers crossing borders to keep their children alive, laborers doing the hardest work for the lowest pay, while being called a burden by the very people who benefit from them. I may not carry that history in my blood, but I refuse to look away. Because the truth is, America was never built by the powerful. It was built by the oppressed, by the people whose names never made it to the textbooks, by the ones this country tried to forget. But we remember. We remember because silence is a choice, and I will not choose it. Not now, not ever. Not while native land is still stolen. Not while black lives are still under attack. Not while immigrants are hunted, caged, and dehumanized. And not while injustice reigns, here or anywhere. I don't speak for anyone, but I will speak with them. stand beside them, and fight for what's right. Because I know this. We are the people, and we won't be silent.
America has
The real reason white people want to erase the history of slavery is because given the chance, they would absolutely do it again. While not all of us subscribe to this system, a lot do. That's why they like our current president, because he consistently, without fail, reinforces the hierarchy of white people on top, followed by everybody else. Of Native citizens on top, followed by everybody else. I consider white supremacy to be one of the most dangerous domestic threats in the United States. Because if you didn't know, there are estimated this many active members in white supremacist organizations. People like your pastor, your neighbor, maybe someone you've seen giving looks to people of color but not necessarily saying anything. White people try to downplay the effects of white supremacy, but it's significantly more people than they will admit. And those are just the people who are overtly racist and willing to label themselves as part of this organization, not even the other people who genuinely believe in it without speaking on it. Point being, erasing the history of slavery and erasing the horrible atrocities that happened in this country is a genuine crime. And it's intentional, because if it's erased, those patterns are going to repeat themselves. So erasing this history isn't just ignorant.
Every economic problem that we're facing in this country right now, student loan debt being just out of control, the government shutdown, SNAP benefits being cut, health insurance premiums about to go through the roof, your rent going up, your pay stagnating, groceries just being astronomical, is because reparations were never paid after the Civil War. Let me explain. After the Civil War, the Union, the North won and the South was defeated, but the South was never punished. The Confederacy lived on in the ideology of the people, of the white people of the South. Reparations were never paid to Black Americans. They were never really, truly given the opportunity to pick themselves up by their bootstraps, to rise up and become equal members of this country, equal citizens. They've been fighting for their equality since then. They've never actually truly achieved it. So when white people hear a promise from Donald Trump et al. That we're gonna run the country like a business, to them that sounds appealing. They're like, oh yeah, because you know what? I'm a business owner. I own this country because I'm white. When Black and brown people hear, well, we're gonna run the country, run the government like a business, they understand what that means because they've been dealing with it for centuries. White people think that they are on the side of the owners, the masters, but they're not. Most white people have more in common with the Black and brown people that they look down upon. They are closer to them in the economic tax bracket than they are to the white billionaires whose asses they kiss. But listen to them glazing billionaires, especially on this app. I make $50,000 a year, but I have more in common with Jeff Bezos than I do with George Floyd. Bullshit! The only reason the lie of let's run this country like a business appealed to you is because you thought you would benefit. And now here you are. Now here you are understanding that when they say we're going to run this country like a business, that means they're going to profit off of your ass. That means that if you take $100,000 loan out to go to college, you will be in debt to the federal government until the day you fucking die. You borrowed $100,000, prepare to repay $300,000 because they're running the government like a business now. And guess what? You're a customer, not an owner. The government exists to serve us, not to profit off of us. And we will continue to have these problems until y'all get your fucking minds right.
America's identity is not freedom. If you're always going on and on about how America is the greatest country on earth because it's so free and we're always trying to spread freedom, you need to calm down. America is and has always been about two things: profit and white supremacy. When I say this, I'm not trying to be ungrateful of the privilege I have having grown up in the United States as the wealthiest country on earth. And I know that there are plenty of countries around the world that have horrible human rights offenses, genocides, poverty, famine, corruption, and so on and so forth. But America is not about freedom, and we have pretended to be about freedom for the entire lifetime of this country. When I think about the Pledge of Allegiance that I was forced to recite in elementary school, middle school, high school, every day, every morning, looking at a flag, placing my hand over my heart, and pledging my allegiance to a country that I didn't really know that much about. We have whitewashed our history and our modern politics and our impact on the world right now so much that most people who get educated in this country have no clue what dark, evil shit we get up to. The FBI archives are publicly available. You can go online and read all about the nasty shit that they did, the relentless spying they did on people that were protesting through the 1960s and 70s, and look at Iraq throughout the 20th century, and then the invasion after 9/11. Look at Israel and Palestine. We're driven by two things: profit and white supremacy. Those are the bottom lines. From the very beginning, when this country was founded for equality for every person, yet we had slaves that built our economy. The first 90 years of this country, for the next 100, black people still did not have full rights and citizenship recognized by the government. We can't even ask to use ranked choice voting in our elections because the current politicians and the political parties are so entrenched in exchanging money for policy and perpetuating the two-party system that leaves the rest of the country, 90% of people, completely fucked by an endless cycle of capitalism. It's all about profit, and it's all about white supremacy, both at home and abroad. And I'm so sick of the way that the United States media and education completely whitewashes that. We can't even have a conversation about communism and socialism because everybody in this country is so fucking scared of those words. They have no idea what they mean. Remember McCarthyism? I mean, how can you have a country that says that it is a free country when you literally have a ringleader blacklisting other politicians just by uttering a word? And that fear of communism and socialism is absolutely still present today. We're so stuck on capitalism and this greed for profit, relentless greed for profit. It will keep us locked in this cycle of raping the earth and exploiting working class people and keeping everybody else divided through the mechanisms of white supremacy. I'm so sick and tired, and I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of watching the politicians and the leaders fight in every way they can to keep this country exactly on the path that it is. Anyway, that's my hot take for the 4th of July. Fuck this man.
Donald Trump's not the problem. MAGA's not the problem. ICE isn't even the problem. They're all symptoms. I mean, ICE is a imminent problem. They're an invading force in multiple cities and states, and they are literally a weaponized version of the Klan that is state-sponsored and has endless amount of money for some reason. But even if all three of those went away today, we would still have the problem. And the problem is this. White people who look like you and me, we've allowed white supremacy to flourish in this country for generations and generations and generations, so long that people don't even recognize it, myself included sometimes, right? I had a moment just last weekend or just earlier this week in New Orleans where I was speaking with a guy on a trolley who grew up there. And he's like, well, you're from the South, right? I grew up in North Carolina. That is the South. You might want to fight me on that. It's not the deep South. He said, you know why everyone's so polite here? And I was like, I don't. And he was like, well, we had to be. He was like, everyone had to be polite to each other, especially black people to white people, because if we didn't address them properly, we would get killed. I make U.S. history content. And I didn't even think about that. I grew up in the South and I didn't even think about that. That's how normalized everyday white supremacy is in our country. And if the white people in this country don't decide that they're going to extricate the cancer that is white supremacy from themselves, from their homes, from their communities, from everything that they are surrounded with, we will be right back in this position 5 years from now, 10 years from now, however long it takes for the cycle to regenerate, because it will happen. Trump's not the problem. MAGA's not the problem. ICE isn't the problem. It's white supremacy. It's been white supremacy. It will be white supremacy. It's always been that. And if we don't work towards it to fix it now, then when? Oh, and by the way, if you're a white person watching this, guarantee you, when we get rid of white supremacy and the systemic white supremacy that kills people every day, every single one of us will be healthier. We'll all be wealthier. We'll have better access to food. We could even have walkable cities. We could have walkable cities, but that's white supremacy in action, right? The way we've designed our cities is white supremacy in action. So just think about where you want this country to be in 5 or 10 years. Think about how loud you want to be. You will lose people. That's okay. We'll have each other. Let's go for it.
As an American, there are some things that you can truly never fully understand until you leave the United States. I moved out of the United States 2.5 years ago, and since then, there have been moments where certain things happen that completely and utterly break everything that I've ever known. And today, one of those things happened. I'm currently living in Germany, and very recently I just got a part-time barista job. It's completely a part-time thing and just something for me to make some extra cash on the side. And I literally cannot even work more than 20 hours a week per my resident permit. And I haven't even started working yet, but there are some things about this job that have already broken me in a good way. As I'm in talks with the boss trying to get this job, I'm expecting like, okay, we'll do like an interview or something and they can see if they like me or not. And the boss emails me about like, they don't do like an interview, they do like a tryout day, and they're telling me like come in for the tryout day and see if you like it and if you fit in with the environment well. And when I went in for the tryout day and like all went really well and stuff, the boss asked me at the end, so like if you feel good about this job, like if you like it, if it suits you well and you think you might want to stay here, then just like write me an email and let me know by like Tuesday or whatever. And they're not saying anything about like whether they even like me or not. Like all the focus seems to be on whether like I like the job and I want to stay there. Like I ended up having to ask like, well, do you like me? Like my German isn't so good, so like is it okay or is it like a problem? Like how do you feel like I fit in with the environment? And only then did I hear from the boss like that, yeah, they liked me too. And then as we're going through the hiring process, like the first thing that they tell me is like, okay, the paperwork should be ready to sign in like 2 weeks. First things first, I need a little bit of information from you. And the first thing she asked me was, when do you want to take your vacation days this year? Literally the first thing that they asked me. Guess how many vacation days I get for a part-time 20-hour-a-week barista job? I am allotted 36 vacation days, or 6 weeks in a 6-day work week schedule. 6 weeks. But the thing that broke me today was an email from my boss telling me that not only is it possible for me to go on the public healthcare system, but it's literally required for me to. For context, this has never been possible for me before, and since I turned 25 and moved outside of the United States, I've only been able to have essentially travel insurance. And now through the German public healthcare system, I can pay into it and then see pretty much any doctor that I want to, as long as they have an available appointment, for free or pretty much free. And the amount that you pay into it is like 100 euros a month. I haven't been to a dentist in like 10 years, and I know that partially that's definitely my fault, but I literally through like the public health insurance, it's like required for you to go like twice a year. I was like kind of freaking out when I first got the email, and I was like texting my German friends so that they could like help me understand better, and because like I translated it, but I was like, I don't want this to be like a false translation or something and me get my hopes up for no reason. And they were like, congratulations, like, but I was like really overwhelmed by it, and they were like, I don't understand what the big deal is. Like, yeah, of course, anyone in Germany who makes more than like 600 euros a month, they automatically can go on the public health insurance. And they're asking me like, what, you didn't know that? And I'm like, no, I didn't. Like, why would I have even expected that or thought to research something like that. We don't even have a public healthcare system like this. And a 20-hour-a-week barista gig would never give you social safety nets from. Why would I have ever thought to look something like that up? I'm used to a part-time job giving you nothing. I'm used to public healthcare not even really existing. I'm used to things being impossibly expensive. I'm used to things being intentionally made to be as difficult as possible to deter people from obtaining them. I'm used to things being unforgiving and uncaring and unhuman. Like, I can't believe how easy it was for me to obtain the essential care that every human being needs and deserves just by serving a little bit of coffee. Like, of course you can read and research about other countries, like, as much as possible, but there's some things that you don't fully understand until you leave the United States. I'm so angry and full of grief that our government and our society and media and whoever else has convinced us that the way that we live is normal.
Hello guys, welcome back. So I want to hear from you guys about this video whereby really white folks, they are now finally coming out and tell us how this system is always affecting them, because this system was really built for the hurting of the black Americans, for the black people. But finally, these people, they are now realizing that this system was really not good for them, because during 1700 they really break this system and build this system whereby a lot of the white folks, they really celebrated about this system. And one thing, they really built this system for only one major thing: blacks to suffer, because they were our black people really went through segregation and also a lot of slavery, and that's where now always the reparation really coming in. But wherever we talk about this reparation, these people, they don't want even us to know about this history. But one thing's really coming out is that these white people, these white American, they are being unashamed to be called the white America, because wherever they really visit any places called, introduce them to be the white America, they really first ashamed. As you have just watched that compilation of video, how these white people, how they are really coming out and tell us how being ashamed. And also these people, I've seen a lot of them really coming out and start complaining about how the black people, they are not complaining, they are not suffering, and yet the system was really built to hurt them. Why? Because blacks used to complain a lot and suffer a lot concerning this system, and that's why they really came out and the blacks wanted to really to break this system of the inequality. But always the white folks were celebrating, but they didn't. One thing that these people really forgot was about the repercussion of this system. Now the high cost of living is really hitting them, Karima, because we have just seen a lot of the white folks really coming out and start crying out how they can really manage the bills in the United States, how they can really not afford even to buy our foodstuffs. That is the repercussion of this system. But also this system of the inequality were always favored them, because wherever maybe even the worst people were just poor, the system will make sure these people to get rich. And even if we have these people, they are maybe they have employed, we have the black worker and maybe the white employee, you find that always the owner, the employer, will favor the white employee. And that's how this system was just built. But now they are nearly coming out and say that the blacks were right. We were right because we wanted the equality. Because wherever we just go to any office, they only look about the color. And white people, black people, I normally say that these people they really Israelites, because these people they have really suffered a lot in hands of the racism. We have seen a lot of the racism going around, how our pupils being segregated from their school, how even in hospital we have the scenario whereby the doctors they are now coming out and tell us how they were really treating the black people. That is not right, because majority of you normally think that segregation has ended long time ago, but not. Segregation is still happening in this modern generation, because when you just go to hospital, you will really find that our black patient being separated from the white people. And also you will really see in education, when it comes to education, our black student being separated from the white people. That is the segregation in modern generation. But one thing I love this generation of the Gen Zs, they are really coming out and they want to know the real history of the white people. But their parents, they don't want even this history to be known by these Gen Zs. But they are really questioning a lot of questions, and they just also wanted to be the black people. The anomaly is that the blacks wins. That is fact. We cannot discuss on that. And that's why these people, they have been always silent. They don't want the upcoming generation of the Alpha and Gen Zs to know the reality of the history. Because when you go back to the history about the slavery, and one thing these people, they must know that wherever we talk about the reparation, we don't mean that we want compensation. We just want to break that system of the inequality, to have the system that will be work equally. That's all. We don't want even stories of maybe compensation and so many things. So when the reparation really come on, these people, they always questioning us. Those people who want to be repaired, maybe they died long time ago, but no. And remember also, we have also the modern slavery. Modern slavery is really going on. Why these white people, they are really always in the nation of the black people? So I want to hear from you guys about this video, how really these white people, they are being ashamed being called the white America. Bye for now. See you in the next video. If you haven't subscribed, remember to subscribe, like, and also comment. I'm your host, Leslie J.